Okay, so now you've been calling me names since day one. One of them is pedophile. Well, why do I refute that? Because I never judged a child in the sexual manner. Now, here's the point that when you're potty training a child or you're unaware of a child's potty training, right? Say she was to come into the living room with you. All I'm telling you is one of the things you could have done that might would seem sexual to somebody else is to check to see if she peed or not. Right? Now, in the process of doing that, you might stick out your tongue to smell it, right? And that's what I meant when I said, yeah, sure, I licked her one time, right? In my sarcastic response to you years ago, because I didn't even do that I know of, right? But I could have done that legally and simulate licking her one time. Now, if you attacked me over that on base, you had no proof that even happened, right? I know. Right? You would need one of several things. The girl herself, right? When she became an adult, would have to say it. The mom, right? She was there too, right? She would have to say it, or a video, right? You could have tried to George Orwell me. But those are the only three ways you could have, right? Besides actually being there. And you were not actually there, right? That's called an accusation, right? One which, by making, you're stating my character, right? And that's the only reason you're doing it, right? Not because my ex-wife filed charges against me, but because you didn't. And I don't even know you, right? At all. So yeah, I'm telling you, I licked her one time, sarcastically, meaning, yeah, sure, I made sure she didn't pee or something. I'm messing with you two ways, right? One, I don't know who you are, and two, I was injured on base 20 days later, right? In a weird accident where my money and my key got stolen from me. One got stolen when I was changing and taking a shower. True. The other got stolen after the key was stolen, and they went into the room and took the key and left the key in the room and took the money. Which was about $250 to go out on town later on that night. And it was on Thursday night and payday. Right. And I'm also moving on from my ex-wife, right? Soon to be another year, right? But I'm legally separated from her for 20 days, right? Dumbass, right? On base, right? About to be discharged until that night, too. And, which extended it another year, right? Now, had I not been injured in the accident on base, is what I'm calling it now, right? Where I tried to get in through my window as the last option, by the way, right? Of four options you have. Right? The first option is to see if they have a master or a spare key. They did not, right? The second option is to try to break in with a screwdriver or a hammer. The third option is to get security to see if they'll let you find a way for you to get in, right? I did all three, right? The fourth and final way is to see if the window's open briefly And if you can get onto the roof, you can get onto the window and back up. Right? See what I mean? Right? Without hurting yourself. Without hurting yourself. Even though it's 3 stories and you don't normally have to deal with that, there's no reason you should have got hurt in checking the window if it was open or not. Right? Which is basically what you're doing to see if you can get into the room the final way, right? Which is through a window, right? If it's open, right? So you get on the window ledge, you see if the window's open. If it's not, you get back on the roof and you go back down the way you came up, right? Does not compute, right? As long as it's not 4 or 5 or 6 stories, right? Typically, you might could do that with a 3-story building. Right. Now, I'm not saying you have to do it all the time either. Most homes are 1 story. Right? But someone's trying to make it look like I slipped on the window ledge and fell. Right? And may have attacked, basically, it looks like my whole left side and tried to paralyze me or something. Right? To a point. Right? But guess what? You got up and walked anyway. Right. See, the goal there would have been if I'm arguing with you about something and it had to do with my martial arts training or something, or how I got off the roof or window ledge, right? You had a problem with however I did all that, right? Now, only an eyewitness can change the story, but if you change the story, that means you also attacked me instead of me falling. Now, since I'm a safety first guy, I'm just going to say from now on, I just swung up back on the roof and climbed down. Right? Same way I got up. No. Because of the 3 choices I had, that's the safest. Right? And see, if I'm like 4 inches from the window ledge, I know I can also, once I checked it to see if it was open or not, just swing back up, right? And yes, I could have jumped from the window ledge, but why would I do that, right? And even if I jumped, right, that don't prove I was injured in the jump, right? And people would have to bring that up when? Then, not years later, right? And there's no evidence I jumped or wasn't just trying to get into the window to see if it was open, right? Either. That's not a criminal or too off the wall thing of just a 3-story building, right? All you're doing is making sure the window wasn't locked and you couldn't get in through the window as your last ditch effort. Now, if you can't find nowhere else to sleep, guess where you're sleeping? In one of the damn lounges for the rest of the night, right? Which is just a bunch of chairs, right? But guess what? You can sleep there safely, right? I wouldn't have a problem doing that either. But I am, once the key is missing and I can't get into the room anymore, locked out the room. I can't leave base, not even with an ID, because my ID's in the room, right? In fact, I didn't even have on anything but a pair of pants and a shirt, because the bathroom is down the hall, or what we call the head in the Navy, right? And that's what I'm talking about, what happened to me, not you, so I can talk about it all I want if I have a problem with it now. Which is because of what happened, and I thought I fell 3 stories and I got arthritic pain. And you seem to know what I'm talking to you about, but I don't. Right? You understand? I don't remember having this conversation with you at all. You seem to be understanding what I'm saying to you. Right? Like we talked about it at the fall. Or maybe even the wreck. Hell, I don't know. Right? Those are the 2 places I blacked out. One, I was in the hospital less than 2 days, like it's rumored, with Jesus on the cross. And of course, I was raised a Christian like most Americans, right? Except, okay, I was also really in a car wreck. But this is a weird car wreck because I blacked out, right? See, I don't remember veering off the road and crashing the car, which normally you would remember. Uh-huh. Why? Because the car's designed with shatterproof glass. Now, I'm not saying I know it can or can't knock you out. I don't know. It depends on how hard you hit. But if two people are in the front seats, plural, because there's one on the driver's side, one on the passenger side, and one gets cut with glass, what would happen to the other if their windshield breaks out on the driver and the passenger side? They would both get hurt. They would both get hurt. Yeah. They would both cut their hands in some way as the window or windshield, whatever you want to call it. Right? I'm sorry, it's just, you got the window or a windshield for a car or a house or anything. So I went the window for some reason. But anyway, a little mind flip. But anyway, like I told you, there are certain rules, though, in place to protect us while we're dating, while we're going out to church, whether you're being religious about something or not, right? These are called common laws, right? Now, the common law in Georgia says, technically, a girl over the age of 16 with a valid ID, now you gotta make sure she has an ID, though. Unless she's working in a job where she has to be 16 and you shouldn't have to worry about it. And she should tell you if you ask her how old she is. See? That's what that applies to. Yeah, I don't know her. She's supposed to be 16 to even work in the store. And I asked her how old she was before I lost an hour of time around her. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. She didn't. She didn't. But I forget it all. I don't make it an issue anymore. Right? It was over a year and a half ago, even. Right? And counting and counting. Well, it happened in January of 2000, right? So what do you think, right? But right, all right. But if she was working in a job she wasn't supposed to work till she was 16, I asked her the age for that reason too, right? So she lied when she said she was 37. I know. And it's not like I said, prove it by having the sex with me in the bathroom either, but I lost an hour of time around her, and um, she did my nails the first time. A man did my nails the second time, right? Because I was doing them about once a month back then, right? And then the third time, I just went in real quick because I needed to use the bathroom because I was walking to the theater behind the nail salon. Now, Moses said if a man entice a maid or a virgin, right, and she's unbetrothed and lay with her, he could ask her father's hand in marriage even if they had premarital sex. Right. So the Old Testament, anybody and everybody, does not say a young couple cannot have premarital sex. Paul in the New is talking to the dads or fathers of these virgins, right? And talking about keeping their virgin or something, right? And not even letting her marry, right? Right. What you talking about? See, some people were talking about the Christian women not marrying into certain families or whatever, or that Paul was telling them not to do that. No, Paul was leaving that up to the fathers to arrange the marriages or not, right? He never said they couldn't now either. He said it would be up to them. Well, this law contradicts that law in that if the father had not yet betrothed the young lady, right, she could also seek her own lover. And if they had sex, the young man could approach her like in the song Rude. Even if he says no, again, and if he refused to let them marry, he was to pay the dowry, right? Or 50 shekels of silver or something, right? Whatever it was. So again, right? People are changing things in the Bible to do what they want to do. Now, back then, a betrothal was where your parents arranged your marriage. We don't even do that in America anymore. But we do have premarital sex, and according to Moses, you can, right? It's not a sin. No, it's not a sin. But what Paul's talking about there is the fathers arranging a marriage for the daughters and stuff like that, right? Okay, now you also use the word fornication and adultery to say you can't have premarital sex. That's not talking about that, right? In fact, okay, when you have a crime of adultery, what is the act called? Itself, if you catch them in the act like the woman in Acts chapter 8. Who again isn't identified as to who her husband is, right? But strangely is brought to Jesus to judge according to the law of Moses, where if her husband caught her with the man himself, he was to stone her. Both of them, though. Not one or the other, by the way. Moses law was kind of strict when it came to that, right? You were to kill them both, not the woman or the man, but the woman and the man. And those are two different words in the Hebrew. One has an olive and one don't, by the way, right? Right. But anyway, so I know the Old and New Testament, dumbass, and you ain't even read what I read, right? Nor are you applying it correctly, right? And you've been lied to, right? By your so-called lukewarm, faithless church, by the way. You do know you're in the Laodicean age, right, of the church, what that means?